All right, welcome into the show, guys. This is Talking Tide. This is the Week 8 review. Oh, hold on. Branding. There we go. Boom. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to this video. We're talking about Week 8, and I've only got a few games to talk about this week, but I've got some rants, some real rants that I might get a little bit heated over. So I'm just going to burn through a couple of the games that really were inconsequential. Inconsequential? I think it's inconsequential. To what I'm going to talk about, or really to Alabama in general, or the overall playoff picture. A couple of games. Missouri beat Auburn 21-17. Without Brady Cook, Missouri is a non-factor. With him, they beat Auburn, who kind of in themselves are a non-factor. Texas A&M got a win against Mississippi State. It was a little bit uninspired, but they have a very favorable schedule. They'll keep going. They're number one in the SEC right now. Florida continues to rally. They moved to 4-3. They got a win over Kentucky. That loss to Vanderbilt really kind of set Kentucky down, and might have set Alabama down a little bit too. DJ Lagway started for Florida in this game because over the week Graham Mertz said that he had torn his ACL in the previous game. So DJ Lagway is going to be the starter going forward for the rest of the year for Florida. LSU went to Arkansas, got a win. I thought that was a little bit of a banana peel game for LSU. They went out. They got a fairly simple enough win. Got a good win there. So LSU is going to be a tough opponent coming up for Bama. I think they might be a better team than Tennessee. We'll talk about that a little bit when we talk about Bama, Tennessee. All right. So that's kind of the games that didn't really matter as much, that I don't really have as much to talk about. I didn't watch them all the way through because I was being depressed watching Bama, Tennessee. And then, of course, Georgia, Texas was also on, so I really ended up watching that a lot. Hopefully my mic is okay because it's falling down. All right. So I want to talk about one of the games I just previously mentioned. I want to talk about Texas, Georgia. Now, Texas went out and they got slaughtered by Georgia. They lost this game 30-15. It could have been a lot worse, but that's not really the point I want to make with this. So throughout this whole year, I want to say that officiating has been a real problem in college football. Not just in college football, but in the NFL as well, but especially in college football. And you saw the biggest capitulation of officiating I have ever seen if you watch this football game. Now, Georgia was beating Texas fairly comfortably. I want to say it was in the third quarter of this game. Texas get an interception, overturn, and they run the ball down to inside the Georgia 15. We're about to score if the offense got the ball. That was overturned for defensive pass interference. Okay, happens. We go back, we watch the review. It's kind of a mediocre pass interference at best. I would be personally a little bit begrudged if it was thrown against Alabama. I'll be totally honest. Especially in these big games, man, I think you got to let the guys play. Let them play a little bit of hand fighting. It's fine. There was no real shove off from either guy. I think the only real thing that they threw the flag for was kind of there was a grab as the defender player, or as the Georgia player kind of tried to turn around. Then they get the interception. It was not a particularly well thrown ball by Beck either. Get an interception, take it back down. Flag is thrown, calls overturned, Georgia get an automatic first down. Now, following that, crowd is very upset. We're in Texas. College game day is there. The student section specifically started throwing cans and whatever else they could get their hands on onto the field. Okay, happens. You're in the SEC. It's a bunch of college kids. It happens sometimes. Now, in this interlude, obviously, play has to be stopped for the safety of other fans, for the safety of the players, the media guys who are on the sidelines, stadium staff, all that kind of stuff. So play stopped. And during the stoppage of play, Coach Sarkisian walks over, tries to tell the fans, hey, you guys got to stop throwing stuff onto the football field. We're trying to play a game here. I know you don't like the decision, but the decision was made. We can't do anything about it. Except you can do something about it, apparently, because in this little intermission moment, the referees decide to get together and then go say, you know what? I don't really want to deal with the wrath of the fans. Maybe we got this wrong, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to overturn a pass interference call. I'm going to say that again. We're going to overturn a pass interference call, something that is non-reviewable. So the officials decide to go and do something I've never seen before in college football because they don't want to face the ire of the Texas fans. Now, this sets a very dangerous precedent going forward in college football. I said it right after it happened. I posted it immediately on my Instagram story. Follow me on Instagram, please, at Talking Tide. Sorry, I'm going to go ahead and put that game up there now. So, and Kirby Smart said it after the game as well. It sets a very dangerous precedent going forward for officiating if you can be kind of begrudged as fans and just get your way. Because that's not how college football works. A official is out there to take control of the game and keep the players safe. If they lose control of the game, something like what happened 2 days ago is going to happen again. Sorry, I get very animated when I talk about officiating because officiating in general, I want to say, is broken as a system, but we'll talk about that a little bit. Now, sorry, let me find where I actually was in my notes. Now, there's a couple things that could have been done to prevent this. Number one, and you see referees do it all the time, throw a flag, they'll have a discussion with the other officials. One may have had a better view than the other. They get together, they say, you know what? I don't think this was the right call. We're going to pick up the flag and wave it off. Happens not all the time, but it happens. You'll see it a couple times every week. That's not what happened in this game. The flag was already called, and had the Texas fans not have forced a delay in progress of this game, it wouldn't have changed. The fans got the referees to change the call on the field. Now, I'm going to go ahead and tell you one of my biggest problems with officiating nowadays, and of all time, but something that can be changed to get this fixed. Whenever you have a coach, Kirby Smart, Steve Sarkisian, Kalen DeBoer, whoever it is, they coach a ball game, they go face the media after. You have a player, Jalen Milroe, played a bad game this past weekend, face the media after. Referees get packed away, sent to their day jobs, and then show up again next Saturday, Sunday, or occasionally on Friday. That's what the referees do. If you don't know, referees are part-time employees of the NCAA. They're not full-time employees. They don't go to school every week for officiating. They don't look at film. They don't look at tape. They don't say, hey, what did we get wrong? What did we get right? They go to their job wherever it is, whether they're a lawyer or a mechanic, whatever it may be, and then they show up on Saturday and say, hey, I'm here to ref a football game and hope I get the stuff right, which this past weekend, there wasn't a lot they got right. There is no accountability for the officials other than the immediate crowd in the stadium. And they caught flack from the immediate crowd in the stadium, and they crumbled. And they set a very dangerous precedent going forward in college football. Now, whatever the league office had to say after this game wasn't really announced. I saw that Texas got fined, as they should have, because you should not throw stuff onto the field. It endangers players, staff, other fans, all that kind of stuff. Shouldn't happen. So they got fined like $250K. But the league officials, as far as I'm aware, got no repercussions for making this decision. That in itself is a problem. Personally, I think that could have been solved if you have them come out and say, you sit them down and put them in front of the media and say, what the heck happened? Why did you make this call? And then decide, you know what? We're going to take it away. Because obviously, while the interlude was happening, when stuff was being thrown onto the field, they looked up at the video board at the Texas Stadium and said, you know what? We might have got it wrong, and we really don't want to get shtick from the fans for the rest of this game, and we don't want to have stuff thrown on the field. So you know what? We're just going to please them. We're going to say, you know what? You're fine. They're losing anyway. They're probably going to lose this ball game. Let's just try and get the least amount of heat on us as possible. And you know what? We'll just overturn it, give Texas the ball just so they're not mad at us. And they face no repercussions because of it, or from that. They get to go home and just do whatever they want to do for the week. They don't have to face the media. They don't have to go into the office and look at tape, say, hey, why in the heck did you guys do this? And then decide to go against it. What happened? No audio is going to be released. Never has been, as far as I'm aware. Nothing is going to happen to them. They're going to go to their day job and they're going to go referee another game next Saturday. And that in itself is a problem. It happens in baseball a lot. And With baseball, it's a little bit easier statistically to decide when referees or umpires rather get things right or wrong. You have a strike box. You have reviews. You can tell if a guy hits the bag before the ball gets the player's mitt or whatever. I don't watch baseball, or I do watch baseball. I'm not a big baseball guy. Whatever the terminology you want to use, you can tell when referee or umpires get stuff wrong. You have percentages. You know, there's a great page I follow. I'll give them a plug. It's like Umpire Auditor, and I'm not the biggest baseball guy. I love watching that kind of stuff because I find it kind of funny to watch umpires get stuff wrong and still have a day job. So what's the solution to this? The solution is you have to make umpires and officials full-time employees of the NCAA so they can be held accountable when they make mistakes. If you go to your job, whether you're a lawyer or a mechanic, and you bring a guy's car in and you screw his car up, you're held accountable for it. These are multi-million-dollar athletes playing on a football field that's officiated by guys who work at AutoZone during the week. It's crazy. All respect to AutoZone employees. I don't think all AutoZone employees should be officiating football games. I don't want to officiate football games because it's hard, number one. And number two, I know what I say to officials whenever they get something wrong, and I don't want that screamed to me. But it's their job. It's their job to get it right. Not get it right some of the time, not get it right 50% of the time. They need to get it right pretty much all the time, especially in games as big as Georgia, Texas. One of the biggest games of the year. Didn't really end up being a great entertaining game, but one of the most consequential games of the year, and you go and you blow a call that badly. Now, again, like I said, was it PI? Probably not. Like I said, let the guys play. It's a physical game. It's in the SEC. It's a big game this year. So, I wouldn't call it. But once the call is made, the call is made, and you have to leave it. There is no going back and changing that. Never has been, and I don't think ever should be. The rule is written as it's written, and it shouldn't change for one game because the fans got mad at you. If the fans get mad at you, okay, here's a great example. I think, so if the fans get mad and you say, okay, if these are our full-time employees, let's put them on the media stand and say, what did you see that made you throw that flag? If the referee can give you a good answer, perfect. At least there's an answer to be had. If he can't give you a good answer, maybe it's time to look at him as a referee and say, maybe this guy shouldn't be officiating games that are like this. These are multi-million-dollar athletes. These games generate a ton of money for universities. And guess what? If Georgia or Texas or Bama or Tennessee or whoever it is misses a playoff game because of a bad referee call, that costs the university millions and millions of dollars on top of that because a part-time employee screwed up. It's crazy to me. Okay, that's one rant done. I appreciate you guys hanging on for that because, like I said, I had a lot to say about officiating. I think officiating has been as bad as it's ever been this year, and it's only getting worse. All right, so that's that game done. Georgia beats Texas. Texas looked very pedestrian in this ball game. Georgia's defensive line is a real problem for anybody they face going forward. I'm glad we don't play them going forward because we're in a bit of a slump, and they are peaking right now. I think they are probably the number one team in the nation at the moment. Would I have said that 2 weeks ago? Absolutely not. Oregon's got the number one spot. Oregon have been very hit or miss, but they got to win against Ohio State. Full credit to them. But for me personally, if you put Georgia and Oregon on a neutral field right now, I think Georgia get that win. But I also thought Georgia was going to lose to Texas, so what do I know? Okay, now we get on to something else that's going to make me a little bit heated. Bama lost to Tennessee this past weekend. And that's not what I'm most heated about. I'm going to take a sip of my mysterious soda, but they're not going to pay me, so I'm not going to say their name. Because I've got some words to say. Okay. And again, this is probably going to make some people really angry around, not the university, but around Alabama as a culture. So, Bama lost to Tennessee 17-24 last weekend at Neyland Stadium. If you're a Bama fan, if you're here, you probably already know that. The thing I'm the most angry about, now, one thing was the officials in this game. They really had a horrible game, and again, I think they should be held accountable for it. Matt Austin, one of the rules analysts for this game, came on 4 different times and said, yeah, the referees got this one wrong. Again, there will be no accountability held for them, or no repercussions rather. So that in itself was one thing that made me mad. But I was sitting in my car today, driving to the golf course. If you know me, I love to play golf. Monday afternoon, good weather. I was driving to the golf course, and I just kind of started thinking in my head. Whenever I get ready for a podcast, I'll kind of start to think and decide what I'm going to say and how I'm going to say it. And the more and more I thought about this situation, the madder I got. So I just decided I got to sit down and talk about it. The Jalen Milroe situation is what I really want to talk about. Now, I have my notes written down, so I'm going to kind of go through those and keep myself on track because I will rant if I don't. I'm going to go ahead and start by saying this. The fan base around the University of Alabama right now is very toxic. And it's not helped by certain people. I'm not going to say any names, but some people around the program who have Instagram pages, different sports pages, all this kind of stuff. You are not helping the situation. It is creating a very toxic environment around the university. Now, specifically for this Jalen Milroe situation, saying that, oh, the guy sucks. He doesn't need to be playing football at Alabama. Yeah, he had a bad game. He had a pretty mediocre game against South Carolina. He had a bad game against Tennessee. Probably played the worst game I've ever seen him play, if I'm being totally honest. But whenever you come on and you're just this kind of faceless, nameless, person writing a blog or you're on an Instagram page or something like that, and you say, we need to bench this guy. We need to bench this guy because I think he needs to be benched. Because X person thinks he needs to be benched. Okay, let me paint you a picture. Let's go back 1 year ago. Well, a little more than a year ago today. Alabama plays USF at USF. All the fans saying, you know what? We need to start this guy over Jalen Milroe. We need to start this guy over Jalen Milroe. And you know what? Coach Saban said, sure, I'll let this be run by the fans. See what happens. If you watch that game, you know what happened. Tyler Buckner started that game because people thought, hey, this guy should start over Jalen Milroe. Tyler Buckner's playing lacrosse now. Full credit to Ty Simpson. He came out, he won that game. Did he look perfect? Nope. Do I think Jalen Milroe could have done a better job in that game? Yes. But I figured, you know what? Saban wanted to prove a point. He proved a point. And now the same people are piping up again. And like I said, I'm going to get heated about this situation because it makes me genuinely pretty angry. Now, let's go to this game. I pull up my Instagram after this game saying Jalen Milroe needs to be benched. We need to go for Ty Simpson, blah, 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 blah. All over Instagram. Okay, you know what? Random Instagram user or random person around the program, how about you be a coach at Alabama? You can be a coach anywhere because apparently you have this mystic ability to not watch film with the guys. You have this mystic ability to not be at practice with the guys, and yet you know who the better quarterback is. How you do it? I don't know. You should go coach somewhere because you can do it magically because you know who the better quarterback is without showing up to practice, without being in the quarterback room, without watching film with the guys. You just know it. So you go be a coach because you know something that the coaches do not know. Or maybe you don't. Maybe they're playing the best guy who think they can get, or who they playing the guy who they think can get the best result on the field. And he has done it time and time and time again, despite what people want to say. So if you want to keep going down this rhetoric and keep saying that somebody needs to be benched or somebody needs to be fired, you know what? You can say it, but I'm not going to take it seriously until I'm convinced that you'll sit down and say it to their face. I'll sit down and tell Jalen, hey, dude, you had a pretty bad game against Tennessee. And he's probably going to say, you know what? You're right. Am I going to sit down and say to Jalen, you know what? You're not the guy who's going to help this team win. No, because it's not true. His teammates know it. I know it. Honestly, I think the people online know it, but they say it to get clicks or views or hate or whatever it is to get interaction. That's the only conclusion I can come to unless they have real short-term memory and don't remember the USF game last year, or maybe they just know something that I don't. That's the only conclusion I can come to. Like I said, I'm going to get heated about this, and I apologize for it. If you don't like it, you can unfollow or whatever it is, but I'm fed up with it at this point. Whether it's saying this guy needs to be fired or this quarterback needs to be benched or we need to do this, I'm not in the film room. I'm not in the quarterback room. I'm not in the running back room. I'm not in the meetings on Monday with the offense. And neither are you. So you saying that you just know what is the right move is crazy. And it's taken with a grain of salt. And it should be. Because you don't know what the coaches know. Now, are the coaches always going to do the best job? No. Coaches are human. They mess up. So are players. They mess up. But you just acting like you know what the best thing for this team is, despite not being around the team, is crazy. All right. I'm done with that rant. Now, let's talk about this game a little bit. And I'll talk a little bit about Jalen Milroe as well. Did he have it? I'll start with that. Did he have a good game? No. Like I said, he played probably one of the worst games I've ever seen him play. In a Bama uniform. He was overthrowing a lot of passes. He did not use his legs. Now, and that kind of brought up a question, is he injured? I don't know. There were some questions about that after the game. DeBoer fielded some questions saying, no, he's not injured. Tyler Booker said something saying, we're playing football. Guys are banged up all the time, but he didn't have anything that was going to stop him from playing the game or helping the team win. He didn't look 100% to me, and maybe that's down to the playing style that the coaches have told him he needs to play. Maybe not using his legs, being a bit more of a pocket passer, that kind of thing. Now, do I think this system fits Jalen Milroe the best? No. I'm going to say that flat out. I don't think this system fits Jalen the best. I think this system fits the Michael Penix type, the Bryce Young type, if you want to throw it back to a Bama guy. I think Jalen is at his best when he's on the move and using his legs. Is he a great pocket passer? No. Has he improved down it this year? Yeah. His ball placements got better. His timing has got better. His reads have got better. But is he a pocket passer guy? No. The dude is an improviser. When he gets into open space, he is the most dangerous player in college football. So I think we need to get him in open space more. There was a couple times in the Tennessee game where I'm like, maybe he could have taken off and run for a couple yards instead of trying, something deep or a tough pass, things like that. So I think he's being forced into a little bit of a system that doesn't fit him the best. Now, when I look at this wall behind me, see guys like Bryce Young, we got Jalen, Tua, all those guys. They're all different quarterbacks. Jalen and Tua, totally different style quarterbacks. Bryce Young, totally different style. I think that this coaching staff has got to adapt and figure out what kind of system will fit Jalen the best. I was hoping that was going to be done a little bit sooner than it has been now. We're almost in week 10. So I think that needs to get figured out a little bit. One of the great things about Saban, he always found a way to fit a quarterback with a system. Whether it was Bryce, Tua, Jalen, Jake Coker. Jake Coker won us a national championship. All respect to Jake Coker. Is he the best quarterback that's ever played at Alabama? No. But did he fit the system that Saban put around him? Yes. And that system was built around Jake Coker. This system, I don't think, is being built around Jalen Milroe. I think he is being kind of log jammed into a system that is not the best for him. So we'll move on from that. Here's the thing about this game. My overall takeaway from this game, I talked about it last week when Florida played Tennessee. Missed opportunities. We had so many opportunities in this game, and they were mostly missed by the offense. I'm going to give full credit. Defense played a fantastic game. Did we give up 24 points? Yeah. Is this defense the most elite defense that's ever played at Alabama? No. Is giving up 24 points something that we can look at and say, hey, this offense can score more than 24 fairly comfortably at times. So if you can hold them to that, that's a win for us. They got 3 takeaways. We scored 0 points on them. They held them to 0 points in the first half. We were still about 1 possession. We had 7 points. It was 7-0 at halftime. So defense did their job. Defense won their battle. Offense did not. Simple as that in this game. Like I said, we had 3 takeaways that led to 0 points. We had trips to the red zone. We had an interception right off the bat. I don't like the play call that was called for that interception. I don't think throwing a jump ball to a guy who's 155 pounds soaking wet is the best option. especially not looking at some of the other guys that we have on this team that could be an option too. But like I said, you've got a guy who is 240 pounds in the backfield who's got an arm as well. But he's dangerous in space. He's dangerous when he has the ball in his hands. Use him. If not him, you got two running backs who are absolute studs who would start anywhere in the country and a continuously improving offensive line. Let's lean on that a little bit. And that was something I said the whole game. We need to lean on this offensive line. That was something I said coming into the game. We need to use the running backs a little bit more. We have a two-headed freak at running back in Justice and Jam, and a three-headed freak if you had Jalen in there. So I think we needed to lean on that a little bit more. Again, that jump ball pass, the play call in general, I just didn't like it. We went right back to it when we were in the red zone again and got a touchdown, but it felt like we didn't learn from our mistakes. So that, I think, was a little bit of a problem. There was other play calls I really disliked. The 4th down and 22 that effectively ended the ball game, hated that call. Or didn't effectively end the ball game, but it was the second to last drive that made it very difficult for us. I didn't like the fact that we didn't punt anyway, but that call specifically blew my mind. I didn't really like it at all. And I'll say this. I know Nick Sheridan has a hard job. If you all remember, Ryan Grubb was the offensive coordinator that was hired at Alabama. He then bailed, for lack of a better term. He essentially bailed right before the season started. I was at the signing day. I got to watch him talk. I said, you know what? This guy could be really good for the program. He jumped ship the next week. Then Nick Sheridan shoved in there, tight end coach, shoved in as our offensive coordinator and said, hey, you got to take over the job now. So took over a tough job. No doubt about it. But we're in week 8. We're in week 9. We're getting to week 10. We have to have some of these problems sorted out. Offensive line is improving. Good. Love that. Everything else is kind of declining a little bit. Ryan Williams had 19 targets in that game. 19 targets. You know how we beat Georgia? We spread the ball around. We had 12 guys catch the ball against Georgia. We had 5 catch the ball against Tennessee, which is a much, much weaker secondary than Georgia is. Even though it's middle of the season, they're more seasoned now. They're still a much weaker unit than Georgia was. And we had 5 guys catch the ball. Ryan Williams had 19 targets. I don't know if it was a game plan. I don't know if it's a matchup thing that they liked, that they saw a bunch with Ryan Williams. I don't know if it was Jalen just trying to force him the ball. I don't know. But that in itself, I think, needs to be fixed. We have playmakers all over the field. Kendrick Law came back, had one really nice play, and then we kind of shoved him into a weird play that I didn't like. We got guys like Caleb Odom, which that in itself, I hate the discourse with this right now. He retweeted something criticizing Jalen, or not even criticizing Jalen, but retweeted basically what a fan said that essentially criticized Jalen. I hate that. You know, if you have problems in the locker room, keep it in the locker room. Discuss it between yourself like men. I like Caleb Odom a lot. I think he's underused, but tweeting stuff like that does not help the situation. Like I said, we got guys like Law, Jeremy Bernard's electric, Cole Adams is a dog. We've got a lot of good players around this program. CJ Dupree's gotten more involved in the passing game. We've got a lot of weapons. We need to spread the ball out and use them, not try and force the ball into certain spots. And again, maybe that's on Jalen. Maybe that's on the OC and what they're talking about. I don't know. I'm not in that locker room. But that's stuff that I think needs to be fixed. Couple other things. I think the defense played well. I think the defense played really good, actually. Malachi Moore fully made up for whatever grievances you may have had or I may have had. I'll be honest, I forgave the guy right after the Vanderbilt thing. It's kind of just water off a duck's back. If I played against Vanderbilt in my 5th year, after I tried to keep a team together, I'd be pissed off too. And we lost. I'd be pissed off too. Fully transparent. I hate to lose anyway, and I know he does. So it happens. Dude went out and he balled this weekend. Got a forced fumble on the opening drive. Got an interception as well. So dude played really good. Jalen Mbakwe got his first pick. Was all over the field too. Made tackles, helped in run support. Dude's going to be an absolute superstar also. So it's good to see. Like I said, it's not all bad news. There's positive things to take forward. But the biggest thing that we need to do, we need to play a complete football game. Does everybody have to play flawless? No. We have the skill, we have the talent, we have the players that you can kind of get away with not playing your best ball and still winning. But the problem is it's not that we don't play our best ball. We play pretty poorly at times, especially for the guys that we have. Now, sorry, I had to get that out. Oh, man, I don't know if the mic picked that up. It's all the stress leaving my body in this conversation. Now, I just totally lost track of what I was going to say. I'm just going to keep going then. Offensive line is constantly improving. Love that. Jalen had good protection this past weekend. I don't know how many sacks Tennessee had, but it was not many. Pass pro was good. He had time to throw the ball. Dang, I really forgot what I was going to say. It's not my notes, so you never know. All right. I'm going to move on from that, and hopefully my brain will pick it back up. But I had to pop my neck and kind of lost my train of thought there. A couple of things I wanted to talk about also. Keon Sabb played hurt in this game. Pretty clearly played hurt in this game. Turns out he has a broken foot. He's going to be out for the foreseeable future, which is a huge loss. That secondary is super young, and they've been a little bit banged up. So losing him, he's been one of the best picks up of the season in the transfer portal. So losing him is going to suck. Got to have the next man up, though. Got to let the next guy play in, and hopefully we can keep it together. Missouri, decent ball team. Brady Cook, decent quarterback. We can beat this team. Full stop. They're going to come in there fully believing that they can beat us. 100%. Every SEC team, every team in the country is going to come in. And now look at this Bama team as vulnerable. We're going to have to prove them otherwise. I now remember what I was going to say about the when I popped my neck and forgot. I was talking about skill players, and when you look across the field, I said it earlier. I said it before, in these kind of videos before. When you look across the field at Vanderbilt, you can say, you know what, we can match up every single one of those guys, and there's not one guy that beats our guy. Same thing with Tennessee. You can look at almost every single guy on the other side and say, not one guy matches up with our guy. We don't have to play perfect ball. We don't. But the problem is, in this game specifically, it was self-inflicted stuff. I mean, Tennessee came away with a couple of okay impact plays. It was something I said in the Vanderbilt game. Our defense didn't set up one impact moment in that entire game. Tennessee really didn't either in this game. We gave them a few things. We gave them penalties. We called weird plays that just took way too long to develop. We threw interceptions. We made it hard on ourselves, which has been kind of a reoccurring theme for Bama teams recently. I think we went 50% on third down. I looked at a third down statistic somewhere in the middle of that game. Our average third down yardage was 10 yards, around there. It was somewhere between 8 and 10 yards. That is not easy football. When you have running backs and a quarterback like we do, you have to play easy football. Not saying that they're not skilled, but these guys can fall forward for 4 and 5 yards at a time. And like I said, the offensive line is continuously improving. Just let them fall forward for 4 or 5 yards. Tennessee figured that out, and they ran the ball all over the place in the second half of that game. But we just don't make it easy on ourselves. Now, if you want to take a shot on 2nd and 1 or 2nd and 2, and you want to throw a bomb to Ryan Williams, go for it. But don't have something that develops, that takes so long to develop on 2nd and 5, 2nd and 6. Because if it takes too long to develop and it gets diagnosed and blown up, you're looking at 3rd down and 12 and looking at kicking the ball away again. So I think stuff like that needs to be ironed out. We need to make it easier on ourselves. We're in a bit of a slump. We need to be able to play ahead of schedule. If you start playing behind schedule, you lose football games to teams that are actually talented. Tennessee is an okay ball team. They are not good. They are not the 7th best team in the country, and it's a missed opportunity that we couldn't beat them. So I think all that being said, this team, can they get it together? Absolutely. We all saw that team play Georgia in the first half of that ball game. They can play good ball when they put it together, when they prep, when they execute, and when they have a cohesion and a togetherness. They can play good football. But we've lost it a little bit. We've hit a slump. We've fallen a little bit off the wagon, and we need to find some kind of spark to get us back going. Now, I'm going to say this. I thought about it a little bit while I was watching that game, and maybe I'm used to a certain coaching style. And again, I'm going to go ahead and preface this. I don't call for people's jobs, because then the question is, who are you going to hire? Or you don't know what goes on behind the scenes. I don't know what goes on behind the scenes. But one takeaway I had from that game, and again, maybe I just come from a certain coaching maybe I'm so used to a certain coaching style in like a Nick Saban or a Steve Sarkisian or a Kirby Smart, where on the sidelines we're a little bit dull. The coaching staff doesn't seem to really have a grip at times on the game itself. Kalen DeBoer, he is a passive coach. He doesn't show a lot of emotion, and that's his coaching style. Okay, but I need to know that you're still fully involved in this game. And that's a crazy thing to say, but man, I remember when Coach Saban spanked A.J. McCarron in the middle of a football game. He literally walked up and spanked him, and we were probably winning that ball game. That's the kind of coaching style I'm used to. You see, there's that famous clip of I want to say it's Kirby Smart and Nick Saban just chewing somebody out. It's one of my favorite clips because that's how you coach people. To me, that's how you coach people. I talked about it before. I want that guy to be scared when he has to go up to the coach's office on Monday when he made a mistake. Like Kendrick Law. Kendrick Law at the end of this ball game, and full respect to Kendrick Law, it's a frustrating situation. You're losing in Neyland, and you get this guy jawing in your ear. I probably would have done the same thing that he did and shove him or smack him in the face, whatever he did, whatever you want to call it. And there should have been offsetting penalties. That was something that the referees screwed up again. But nobody walked over to Kendrick Law and said, man, what are you doing? It's 4th down and 7, now turned to 4th down and 22. We're probably going to punt the ball away, which we didn't, which I think we should have. But it made it so much harder on us because of what you just did. He walked over to the sideline. Nobody said a thing. There was one, we got a roughing the passer call. It was like number 90. I don't even know who it was, to be completely honest. He had a little bit of player. He had some players on his back. I saw that. I was like, all right, you know what? We need that. If the coaches aren't going to jaw out the players, maybe they do in practice, but if they're not going to rip into them on the sideline, I at least need the other players to take accountability of each other. Saw it happen one time, and that was really about it. That to me is concerning. I'll be fully honest. I think that is a scary thing going forward. Not even going to get political, but the way kind of stuff is going nowadays, you can't really have that Nick Saban type of fiery on the sideline, like early Nick Saban, like tearing into guys on the sideline. Maybe it's frowned upon nowadays. I don't really know. It's college football. It's coaching. It is what it is. But it's definitely been toned down at times. And Nick Saban was toned down a little bit more so, later in his tenure at Alabama. But even still, he get fiery. The only people I see DeBoer get fiery at is referees. And yeah, the referees screwed up. They deserve to be yelled at in the middle of that ball game because ain't nobody else going to do it. So I need to see that same kind of passion and fieriness going towards our players. Not because I want them to know that they've done wrong, but just accountability has to be had for everybody. Coaches, players, officials, everybody. So we have to have that accountability on the sideline. And again, maybe it happens in practice. Maybe it happens in the meetings on Monday, but I don't see that happening. And, there are other things that go on that aren't concerning, but I find a little bit strange, like the no cussing at practice. Okay, whatever. That's kind of that PC culture that's kind of taking over. Listening to music at practice. You know what? Say, guys, we're 1-2 in the past 3 weeks. No music today. I need you guys to lock in. I need you guys to grind. If we play another SEC game on Saturday at home, get to work. You know what? If you win that game, maybe we'll listen to some music on Monday. But until further notice, I need you guys to lock in. Just say something like that. Get them to lock in, man. This team feels very, I don't want to say unguided, but kind of unguided. They're young, bunch of college kids, kids coming out of high school. They get a fat paycheck and a lot of money now. Treat them like employees. Football teams are family, all this kind of stuff, yeah. But you hold family accountable too. You cannot baby these guys, man. And again, maybe he doesn't do that. I don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but from public perception, kind of just watching the ball game, it feels like that at times. So I think that's something that could be adjusted and fixed a little bit. Again, I'm not a ball coach. Trust me, I'm not qualified to work at the University of Alabama as a janitor, much less a football coach. So that's just my personal opinion. I know a lot of people said it online too, so I kind of wanted to express that. And, I see what you guys are saying, trust me, and I agree with it. I still am behind Kalen DeBoer. I'm behind these guys. I'm behind Jalen. Trust me on that. I'm behind Jalen. I'm behind Jalen more than anybody else on this team. I say that, and I am behind Jalen more than I'm behind the coaching staff. And I'm behind the coaching staff a lot. But I am dead set. Jalen is the guy that's going to help us win football games going forward. So I'm not going up. I'm not going to give up on this team. We have to win out to have a shot or a hope at playoffs. And even then, we probably need a lot of help around the league. I'm not going to say we're going to make playoffs. I'm not going to say we're not. Crazier things have happened. But we need a lot of work. And if we keep playing like we did against Tennessee, it's just not going to happen. So we need to shape up. We got to lock in because it doesn't get any easier. We play LSU in a couple of weeks. We play Missouri at home this week. Both those teams are ranked. So got to get it done. I'm trying to see if there's anything else that I have. No, not really. I'll break down that game against Missouri on Friday. Should have a podcast out by then. I appreciate you guys standing in and being a sounding board for me to bounce off of. Hopefully my ranting didn't take away from anything I had to say. I know a lot of you guys probably feel the same way I do. I know a lot of you guys probably feel differently than I do, and that's fine. You can drop in the comments, and we'll have a discussion about it. Follow me on Instagram. That's where I'm mostly active. Yeah, I think that's about it. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Oh, man. Wow. We're just going to have to cut that voice crack out entirely. Anyway, I appreciate you guys tuning in. I'll see you guys again on Friday. Gonna say it because I truly mean it all the time. I'm behind this team 100%, and no matter what, that's never going to change. It's always Roll Tide.